We'll go ahead and call the October 30th FARGODOME Authority meeting to order. First would be to approve the agenda, which is before you, if you want to take a look at it. And if there's no additions or changes, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Dave.
Second.
Second by Mike. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next would be approve the minutes from the last meeting, which is September 25th, page 1 of your packet. Take a few moments to review the minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
A motion from Blake to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second from Mike. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Any old business to come before the FARGODOME Authority? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business, and under 3A, General Manager's Report, I'll turn it over to Rob Soblik.
All right, financials start on page 4. As always, the left-hand side is the month. So for the month of September, the right-hand side is the year to date, 9 months through September. For the month of September, we had 10 events with attendance of just about 81,000 compared to a budget of 79,500. Event income of 324, almost 325,000, or just over $36,000 below the budgeted number of just about 361,000. Indirect expenses of 407,000, so about 8,700 above the budget of 398,000. So for the month of September, we had a surplus of 44,700. Which was $48,000 below our budget at $92,800. The bulk of that as we go down is from NDSU football. We kind of had the conversation at the finance committee, more variance on the food and beverage per caps, and that's kind of where that number comes in with 4 games, so about 10,000 a game on average, obviously. Lisbon youth football, which was 10 games in 1 day, was about 600 above budget, and the NDSU engineering and tech career fair about 2,900 above budget. On the other income side, about 3,200 below budget total. Interest income is up with ticket revenues. Didn't have a lot on sale. Most of the Ed Sheeran tickets had already been sold, and as well as the pink tickets for next May. Then on the indirect expenses, continue to be below budget by about $5,500 for labor. For the month, a combination of different things, and then about $18,000 above budget on operations due to utilities, mainly electricity. Then also we had a couple of big repairs. Simplex, which is the fire system. We had 3 troubles that came in, and that looked like it was about $4,100 or $4,800 of expense, mostly labor. And then our fire pump, the ceiling of it kind of went out, so that had to get repacked, and that was about $4,500. So those just came out of operating due to timing and everything such as that. Questions on the month of September? Year to date then, we've had 73 events, attendance of just about 354,000, so about 13,000 below budget. Total event income of just over 1.9 million, or 1.960,000 compared to a budget of 2,043,000, so about 82,000 below budget. Indirect expenses of 2,961,000, which is about $5,000 below the budgeted $2,966,000. So for the 9 months, a net surplus of $190,800, which is a good number, but it is $55,000 below our budget of $246,000. Not too alarming based on just NDSU per cap fluctuations. At the finance building committee last week, we had, and it's in the last sheet of your packet here, just kind of showed what a 20 cent or a 40 cent, 50 cent swing in food and beverage per cap can do when you're talking 18,000 people. That's kind of where it goes, and looks for us to just look at some different things going forward. Also for some of the Fargo South football games, just needed to do a better job adjusting on some cleaning expense. But it's kind of melding difficult when you have a Friday night football game, Saturday Bison game. You kind of have a little, or a week in between, you kind of have a little post clean from one event, but then pre-cleaning and just double checking areas for the next game. So that's on the event income, about 82,000 below budget there. The big ones people usually look at 40,000 below on the concert side. That does not include any Ed Sheeran, obviously. So we've had 4 of our 6 budgeted concerts run through. 2 will come through with Ed Sheeran. Attendance-wise, dollar-wise, it'd probably be a little short of what 109,000 concerts are, but still a very good show. Better than anticipated on the food and beverage side. Expense side, labor continues to be a favorable, about 97,000 below budget on that, which gets eaten up with the operations and the GA. The G&A is the Arena Network membership, and then trademark logo renewal. You pay a lot for a little bit of work by high-priced attorneys, and operations with higher utilities. Snow expense, winter expense is more on the ice melt, different things such as that, and grounds labor. Any questions? Still, even at 55 below, still feel pretty comfortable with this budget is based off of no playoff games for NDSU. So without playoff games, we'll have a good year by all means, but still slightly below. But last time I checked, 8-0 usually gets you into the playoffs. Maybe a home game.
Much ground will Ed Sheeran gain for us on that?
It's not. It's definitely not going to make up any of the current deficit of 40 below, considering 2 more are going to come through at about 220,000, then 215,000. It might actually increase it slightly, but again, when we budget off of average shows, historical data. We don't know if it's going to be a Pink show or a Journey Deaf with a $15 per cap or a Taylor Swift with a $6 per cap. Any other questions on financials?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the September financials as presented in the general manager's report.
So move, I'll second that.
Motion from Blake, second from Dave to approve the financials. Is a roll call?
Nancy? Yes. Dan?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
All right, then moving on for event schedule since our last meeting, which was September 25th. As we talked at that time, we had the NDSU Engineering and Tech Expo going on that Tuesday, Wednesday. The turf came out right after that, and we had the NDSU SDSU football game on Saturday the 29th, and then Lisbon Youth Football on Sunday the 30th. Right, the first week in October was dark in the building as far as events, had football practice, different things such as that going on, but prepared for a very busy middle 2 weeks of October with the big one, Art and Craft Fair, starting to move in at 5 a.m. Thursday morning, the 11th. They moved in all day Thursday. Friday morning, had the show till Friday night. Show again Saturday morning at 8 a.m. till 5. They moved out, operations got out of here about midnight Saturday, the 13th. They were back in at 7 o'clock. Sunday the 14th for the Ed Sheeran Steel production load-in. Worked about 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday. With building the steel structure you saw at the Ed Sheeran show, the production for the concert actually loaded in on Tuesday. That was essentially 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Wednesday with the show, they didn't have a call till 10 a.m. Show obviously ran until about 10:45 that night. So they loaded out the production from 10:45 p.m. Wednesday night to about 1 a.m. Thursday morning, rolled right into the steel loadout, started tearing down the rigging grid and things at 1 a.m. Thursday. The last truck left about 2:30 Thursday afternoon and went right into getting the football turf out, and NDSU was able to start practice at 5 p.m. Thursday afternoon. So
So did they get that same setup at the US Bank Stadium on Saturday night, or did they have two?
they have two
Two
grid
stadiums?
systems, the steel, one production. So the video and the lights, that just goes show to show. But so like the grid system we had was, I forget where they were 2 shows before us. That skipped their Kansas City show, came to Fargo. The one that was in Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium the Saturday before ours, then went to US Bank. They built that. Ours went to Milwaukee, where they had to be delayed a day because the Brewers were still playing baseball. But so they had the show, but the steel was, so it was unique. It was the first time we'd ever done, that I can recall, that we've ever done an actual stadium production inside the arena. We've never, or inside the building, we've never, we've had stadium shows come in, but what they've normally done is rented truss and motors and just hung it from the ceiling like they normally do. This one was, so nothing was hung from the ceiling. Everything was ground supported. So
That's nice.
It was pretty interesting to see. A lot of work. I mean, we did have several people from here at 10 o'clock Wednesday morning that went home at 5 o'clock Thursday afternoon. But that's just kind of the nature of the way we work when we have such few full-time staff. So went right from that into NDSU versus Illinois State on the 20th. So the football turf got out at 5 o'clock on Thursday. They practiced on Friday. Football game on Saturday. They pulled the football turf 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon, 6 o'clock, and did the switch over to the Gate City Theater for the start of the Gate City Bank Theater Series. Finished setting the theater set on Sunday the 21st, and had Finding Neverland in the theater on Monday the 22nd, and came back quickly last Tuesday night, the 23rd, at 6, and put the turf out. And other than some youth football this past weekend, we've been a little quiet on the arena front, where everybody's kind of taking a breath and caught up on some sleep, which takes us up to today. Huh?
And then?
Well, yeah. Looks worse than it is. But. So yeah, it's October. The middle 2 weeks was quite an experience. I'll say it really, again, highlighted the building's flexibility when you look at a stadium show coming in, to a sold-out football game, to the theater show. Frankly, the 3 biggest types of conversions our building can do, they did it in a span of 6 days. So everybody, operations, event services, another thing with the Ed Sheeran date was it was all digital ticketing. Again, something we've never done here before. And for us, we don't have a separate entrance to get onto the floor. So in order, when you're here at a concert, to get on and off the floor, you show your ticket. Well, you don't have one of those when it's all digital. So event services actually worked with food and beverage with our volunteer groups. We had about 25 people from volunteer groups working with our event staff to wristband 8,000 ticket holders for floor seats. Sarah, the Know Before You Go, got a workout that whole week leading up to it. It was all delayed delivery, so tickets for Ed Sheeran went on sale October of last year. That person who bought the ticket didn't get the actual ticket until Monday of the week of the show. So it was a lot of different things. I will tell you that there was a lot of stuff that could have went wrong. It was not without its issues, but they were all, in our opinion, extremely minor, and everybody here did a marvelous job. So the building performed the way it was. Again, to get that theater, or to get the production out and still have practice on Thursday afternoon. That's why the city and the authority spent the $2.5 million on the turf. Then to pull it back out, do a theater show. So it's neat to be a part of. It's not really something we want to do on a monthly basis, or even every other month, but particularly the way we're staffed, but it worked. So any questions, comments, past events from the board?
No, good job. Wow, busy month. Couldn't be busier coming up.
It was. And then moving forward, thankfully, most of the highlights are football, though. So it's the turf went down and stays down for about 4 weeks. So this week now we've got Thursday, Friday, November 1st and 2nd, 4 high school Minnesota section final games each day, starting at 11:30 each day. Then this Saturday, the 3rd, NDSU versus Youngstown State. Then you can see the one on there, the Fraser Festival of Trees. That's just in the lobby. That'll move in next Tuesday and be in the lobby through December 2nd. Then next Friday, the 9th, is Dakota Bowl, which is the North Dakota High School State Championships. 4 games starting at 9 o'clock Friday morning, running through the evening. And then NDSU hosting their final regular season game versus Southern Illinois on Saturday the 17th. And then Fill the Dome will be back. I think it's the 12th year that it'll be here on the 19th and 20th, rolling into Thanksgiving, rolling into the Egg Show, rolling into the next meeting here on the 27th. Not necessarily an event, but a meeting for all of you. Just remember that the November Finance Building Committee meeting is actually Tuesday the 20th, not the typical Wednesday meeting schedule, since that is the Wednesday prior to Thanksgiving. Questions on upcoming events? If not, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Rob. Move on to item B, committee reports. Building and Finance Committee met. Turn it over to Blake or Mike for that report.
Yeah, the financials we heard from Rob, and then just a couple building or project updates. The first one, the building upgrade project, continues to move forward. Mike and Troy and Rob met with RLE a few weeks ago, just on some initial concepts on the building project. So it sounds like RLE will join our meeting here starting next month.
Yeah, we've got another meeting scheduled with them next week just to kind of look at some different changes. As we've talked about, they've kind of drawn out the possibility of about a 45,000 square foot meeting, convention, conference center to the south. They had initially had a more further southeast than originally, kind of pushed it back. Looking at the west and the south to create more lobby, marshaling, different things such as that. Looking at the wheelchair seating throughout the building, since part of this will be opening the wall and bringing it up to today's standards. Getting more of that than just trying to be creative. One of the possibilities they threw out to look at is possibly losing a suite to get some wheelchair seating in certain areas, some permanent wheelchair seats. So we're still looking at some different ideas, whether it's west side, east side, Sharks versus Jets, different things such as that. West Side Story.
I got that. Nobody else did.
But trying to look at what's the best thing, but also the most cost efficient. We were going through it, and if you were Perkins and Will, the people working with Perkins and Will is actually a Sincombs Detlefs, Don Detlefs, who was the original architect, who did a fabulous job of building the FARGODOME on an extremely tight budget back in 1990. And there's nothing against anybody. It was marvelous, but they still have that same approach, which is good because we want to be as efficient as possible. However, there was one thing they made a comment on when we were talking about the west side, in particular about limiting the amount of space that we could build, enclose on the west side because of the southwest and northwest egress stairs that go off the floor. They have to go outside and get out of the building. They can't come into an enclosed space and then get through another, is my understanding. So they said, well, this is all the farther we could go because those stairs are there. And I believe Mike and Troy agreed with me, where I just said, look, I respect the decisions that were made in the past. They were wonderful decisions. They were great decisions, but because of some of those decisions, we're having these conversations right now. So if moving or excavating further to the west of those egress stairs solves that problem, allows us to get more space, let's at least look at that. So we're not in 20 years having another conversation about, well, woulda, shoulda, coulda. Obviously, if it's a $10 million change, okay, you probably pull back on that. But if it's a $500,000, maybe you take it and try to go to that next level and get that done. So there'll be more work, more meetings throughout the coming weeks, and then hopefully, like I said, or like Blake had mentioned, by the November FDA meeting, they'll start to actually do presentations at this meetings to keep everybody in the loop and get your opinions and go from there. It's important to remember that there are several phases, somewhere between 2 and 10, as far as how this stuff could come together with the just expansion of the existing building envelope, some other changes on the east side, maybe to the press box area, different things such as that, and then where does the meeting, conference, convention space fit in, skyway over the shack, hotel possibilities. That they're kind of looking at everything and trying to site everything out that to look at what's the best thing to do.
So it's moving forward, so that's good. The only other project update was that Land Elements won the bid for the landscape architectural services at $11,450, and so they're working on the plan for the south and east side right now. So that's it for updates. Any questions on those items? If not, I'd move to approve the Building and Finance Committee report.
Second. Motion from Blake, second from Dan.
Nancy?
Yep.
Dan?
Yes.
David?
Yep.
Troy?
Yes.
Mike?
Yep.
Blake?
Yes.
All right, additional items, a couple just housekeeping regarding the project. There was some discussions at an earlier meeting about doing some site visits to a couple Perkins and Wills projects, one in Sioux Falls, one in Target.
Minneapolis
Center.
would be Perkins Will, but just to see some remodeling
Right.
jobs.
So to see kind of some of the things we're working on here, some discussion, possibly to visit some other places, but I think the decision was made in conversations with the city to stay somewhat local, so it'd be a bus trip. So I wanted to get a sense from this group, that everybody would be comfortable with that expenditure if and when we get there. Obviously, it can be some relatively inexpensive by bus versus flying.
Oh, yeah, okay. Obviously, some hurdles.
Compared to flying.
There you go. Some hurdles there. This is a public body, hence the camera. But so if we take a bus trip, that's a public meeting. So media would be notified and how we handle it. I participated in the bus trips that different city officials and arts and CBB officials took to both Lincoln, Nebraska, and then up to Winnipeg. The media is invited to come along. They have to pay their own way. Obviously, they would pay a per seat charge for the bus, and then they would pay for their own hotel rooms and expenses while we're traveling. Unless, I suppose, we probably could do it in 2 separate trips, where we took one trip, got up early and went down to Sioux Falls, looked at some stuff, and came back same day. Could likely pull the same thing off in Minneapolis, or going down, like I said before, U.S. Bank Stadium, beautiful facility, great new technology. Dream big, but let's not dream that big. So there's not, for the purposes of what we're trying to do, I don't think it's really that beneficial to take the tour of U.S. Bank and see those things. That would be more centered on Target Center and Excel Energy Center for some of the different changes of an existing building. That, what were your challenges? What did you change? How's it working?
Where do you see that feathering in with respect to the discussions with RLE and Perkins Wills? Is that like a November, December, January?
I would say that it's going to be sooner rather than later, but based on everything, not before Thanksgiving. It's probably going to be maybe we can pull it off in the December time frame. I'd work with probably the city or myself to contract with a busing company to get it, make sure they got a good movie selection. But
Yeah, so that more.
so I think that would actually be a conversation for the board to have as well, or to think about. Is, do you want to do it where it's just, instead of taking 2 2.5 days where we leave, go to Sioux Falls, see what, look at the Denny Sanford. Now it's a new building, but you can look at what they used to have. And then I would say probably that same day leave from Sioux Falls, go to Minneapolis. So we're there later that evening, get up, do those 2 and get back. Or do you want to do 2 separate where one day it's just a day trip down to Sioux Falls? I think most of us have done it. There's nothing like driving I-29 for 3 hours each way in one day.
Going back the same day.
To do that, and then a couple days later or the next week do a Minneapolis trip. Maybe that fits better with different schedules, but it would all be by bus, and obviously the media would be invited.
Maybe give it some thought, and those that you want to participate, let Rob know maybe, so we kind of know how big of a group we're dealing with. And
I think from a scheduling standpoint, individual schedules, doing one and then another one later would be a little more difficult as opposed to just saying,
Get
here's
it
what
all
we're doing,
done.
we're just gonna punch it out. And that's my initial thoughts, because saying we're gonna do one this week and then the other one the next week.
It would be a little bit more cumbersome.
Yeah.
Obviously, probably even more, I don't know if it'd be more or less expensive on the busing side of things.
Potentially more time in between with everybody's schedules to
Right.
find 2 dates.
Right,
Yep.
that's my point, is
Yeah.
that it's not that finances aside, it's just timing. Just,
Yep.
if you know it's gonna be a
It's a little
Monday,
cleaner that
Tuesday,
way.
yeah, Monday, Tuesday.
Obviously, then we'd have to figure out hotel rooms, who's gonna bunk up with who, because, you gotta double up on rooms.
Do we want to see any of these buildings in action, where you go early and see the design stuff and see it in action, or is it mostly just design? Right?
I think it's more just getting ideas of how they've changed. So, I mean, it could be, but again, that just adds time.
Right.
That adds length of stays to somewhere to see it.
Yeah.
But I think, again, it's, plus if we do a bus trip, it opens it up where we can take some more building staff.
Should be-
Obviously, RL would come in, Perkins and Will's just gonna fly to wherever we go, but RL may come with us.
Do you anticipate possibly making a decision in November then, or earlier?
I think the November authority meeting would be the latest you want to make that decision. So, I mean, even if it could be a topic of conversation, maybe at the November Finance Committee meeting, Finance Building, and the decision could just be made and plans start to put into place there. So if you want to start looking at calendars and just collecting, I'm not going to do a doodle poll or anything, just to say, hey, this works, hey, this doesn't work. I leave for wherever on this date and I'm gone for 3
Not
months.
until January.
So, there we
I'm
go.
probably the most flexible, and I'm not bunking with any of you, just.
So it makes sense,
Listen,
Amanda.
I'm good with you.
It makes sense for us to send Amanda available dates, and
Yeah, either Amanda or I, we'll
Yeah.
we'll keep a running tally for now and just
Yeah.
try to coordinate
Finish this
something.
group.
The later you get into December, the harder it's gonna get with Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's easier it's gonna get. You can get your Christmas shopping done down in Minneapolis. We can drop you off at Albertville, pick you up on the way home.
Make a bear.
Build-A-Bear, you mean?
Build a bear.
and then just one final question on like timeline. I'm assuming we have in someone's mind a timeline as far as moving this along, and I think
It's
we're
not
we're on
going.
that,
It's
but-
not going to be what the original one was,
Right.
where they thought, "Hey, we're going to be making a presentation towards the end of December." Not happening. As far as a final presentation to commission, I think more in that January timeframe, end of January finalizing with the authority type of things, maybe February, and then it might be a special meeting in the first part of February, so then the February regularly scheduled authority meeting can look at some stuff and then talk to the city commission and see where it goes from there.
Okay. Good question, David.
I was gonna say that maybe we should look at that first week in December and send out the doodle calendar. I
Okay.
mean, because I'm thinking right now is we're gonna be towards the end of November and then have to make a snap decision to go. Because I'm just seeing after the 15th of December, it's not gonna work for.
The only thing I'm trying to avoid is the discussion. If you want to send us the dates, we can look at the dates and
All right.
schedule and send it out by email. That's fine. We just have to make sure we're not having conversations over email.
As I say, if everybody
Business.
sends Amanda your available dates in first 2 weeks of November,
Yeah.
or dates that won't work, hey, I'd like to participate, these are the dates I'm available, and
That
that'll
works.
at least get us closer to
Do
having.
you wanna do dates in November or December?
I would say
This,
December.
or first 2 weeks of
First two
December,
weeks,
does that make
first 2 weeks
sense?
December. Availability, okay.
So the week of December 3rd and 10th.
And 10th, okay.
Well, the 10th was our meeting, so we could do it on the
Yeah.
bus.
There you go. Well,
Yeah,
it's
is that
the- that's the social, so.
Do the-
Probably not.
That's a social, yeah.
You can't take the hors
We
d'oeuvres
can
away.
be social on
Well, I
those.
don't know.
Supus has said for a year he only comes for the cookies now, so if you take his hors d'oeuvres away from him, what are you gonna do?
We've had a meeting before that.
So yeah, that's, but yeah, that's either that, or I guess even if you wanted to look at the last week in November, which, because Thanksgiving falls so early this year,
True.
you can look at that, but don't forget we have the authority meeting on that, the
The 10th.
27th. Tuesday the 27th.
And then December 10th.
I think that's.
We have the
correct.
ag show going on, so not as many of our staff would be able to go. I frankly don't do anything with it. So.
Actionable, get the dates into you and Brandon.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just get that new one.
So let's just do last week in November, first 2 weeks in December.
Okay.
We'll look at that.
All right,
And if we decide to leave on Tuesday the 11th, we'll bring the extra shrimp with us.
there you go. Keep it on ice.
Exactly.
All right, any additional items to come before the authority? If not, we're adjourned.